In this episode today, we're going to talk about something many women in midlife quietly carry, but don't always say it out loud. I love my partner, but do I still want this marriage? On a recent women's retreat that I went to, the topic of our marriages came up. One woman asked, how do couples survive long term after raising kids? Won't we be bored or uninspired after a time? The question is, are we doomed to separate in some capacity, whether that's literal, in divorce, or metaphorical, living under the same roof, but without that passion, that real connection that we once had in our younger years? Separate lives without real depth and intimacy. If you've ever found yourself lying awake at night thinking, why am I so angry with him lately? Or why don't I want more sex anymore? Or not with him? Are we just flatmates and co-parents now? Then this conversation is for you. Welcome to The Accidental Rebel, Soul Truths for Women in Midlife. I'm Jen, philosopher, truth seeker, and accidental rebel, and someone who has absolutely sat in the messy middle of, do I stay, do I go, or is there a third way? Today we're exploring midlife marriage crisis. Can menopause break a marriage or make it stronger? This isn't going to be another 10 tips to save your marriage episode. And we're not saying just communicate more or have more date nights and buy some lingerie. No, we're going deeper into your biology, your history, the culture you've grown up in, the stories you've absorbed about being a wife, and the soul level truth that might be trying to surface through your midlife marriage crisis. Midlife marriage crisis, the end or an invitation? So what's really going on beneath the surface? Let's start with the obvious piece. Midlife and menopause change a lot. Your hormones are shifting, estrogen drops, progesterone, testosterone change, your nervous system is more sensitive, and you might feel more irritable, less patient, utterly exhausted, less interested in sex, or even angry when your partner initiates and you feel guilty about it. At the same time, you're probably carrying the mental load of family life, the routines, meals, the emotional weathering of your kids, remembering who needs to be where and when, caring for aging parents or other family members, managing your own career and your own business, organising holidays, birthdays, school stuff, you know, all of it. And then inside, this thought starts to whisper, what about me? You add hot flashes, sleep disturbance, pain, brain fog, a changing body, and it makes sense that your tolerance for old patterns gets thinner. So when we talk about midlife marriage crisis, we're not just talking about two people who fall out of love here. We're talking about a woman whose whole system, body, mind, soul, is saying, I can't keep doing life the way I did in my 30s. And even though you recognize that you have been suppressing your own full, joyful self-expression, you don't even know where you would start, or even if you have a hobby at all. You wonder if you're interested in your partner anymore. Maybe the attraction has died. You think, is this it? Does it get better or worse? Could I have more? Am I allowed to want more? And bubbling under the skin is a raw rising of rage that you dare not entertain, or you might say or do something you may very well regret. Just notice how your body is responding as you hear this. Is your chest tight? Do you feel a wave of sadness, anger, relief? You don't need to fix anything right now. Just let yourself be honest. Like, yeah, this is where I'm at. Let's look at biology and the bigger story. I want to be really clear. You're not making this up and you're not too sensitive. Biologically, menopause brings changes in libido, vaginal dryness or pain down there, mood swings, fatigue, and a different relationship to touch and closeness. Why? For one, estrogen gives us that care factor. Without it, we literally turn ourselves into selfish men. No, but seriously, estrogen helps regulate our feel-good hormones, serotonin, as well as other neurotransmitters like dopamine that helps us fall in love, start and raise a family, and choose to be there in service to all. I've heard it before being referred to as the people-pleasing hormone. And alongside a drop in progesterone and testosterone, we experience a physical, neurological, and psychological transition that kicks off this increased severity of mood swings and a reactive nervous system which exacerbates pain, emotional sensitivity, irritability, stress, anxiety, depression. Oh, hello, your inner Karen. Research shows that around 50% of women report low sexual desire in menopause, most likely triggered by pain during intercourse. So the estrogen drop dries the vaginal walls to feel like sandpaper. Ouch. And it's no surprise then that it can bring on the added stress caused out of fear or shame when or if your partner tries to initiate or make a move and you feel anger rather than reciprocation. Not to mention that you're too tired or experiencing hot night sweats to be bothered at all, let's be honest. Meanwhile, a lot of men are going through their own quieter hormonal and identity shifts, sometimes called andropause, and they can experience fatigue, lower libido, or health changes. So it's very rarely just you. But we can't talk about this without also talking about history of menopause madness. For generations, women's midlife distress has been misunderstood and quite frankly abused. In the Victorian era, menopausal women were routinely labelled hysterical. Their uteruses were blamed for their emotions, and surgeons actually removed healthy ovaries and then into full hysterectomies in an attempt to control menopause madness. And it caused severe long-term health risks and a very high mortality rate just from the surgeries without resolving that underlying distress. Then, crazily, later, lobotomies were used on women who didn't fit the neat domestic roles. Women who were depressed, anxious, or simply not compliant enough. Yeah, that's right. Using ice pick-like tools to drill a hole in the side of the eye to sever the nerve pathways in the brain's prefrontal cortex. It's brutal to even imagine, and it often rendered many women docile and compliant, harming their neurological and emotional health. These stories aren't just disturbing facts about past, they form the background hum of our culture. They send the message that your feelings are dangerous, your body is untrustworthy, your anger is a problem that needs to be cut out or drugged. So when we hit midlife and we feel this rage, this numbness, this disinterest in sex, or this longing for something more, it's very easy to turn that against ourselves. We think, maybe it is me. Maybe I'm broken. Maybe I'm being unfair. You're not broken. You're waking up. So instead of lobotomy, maybe we just need to rebirth a new creative, sensual expression. We just need to release the years of self-betrayal and submission and rediscover our authentic desires and express our renewed sense of self. Explore new ways to connect romantically and explore love beyond being desired for our youthfulness and our fertility. Is menopause ruining marriages or revealing the truth? Here's the hard, honest piece. Menopause doesn't usually break a good marriage. What it often does is reveal what's really or already cracked. So maybe for years you've put everyone else first. You've bit your tongue to keep the peace. You've taken on more than your share of the mental and emotional labor. You've swallowed hurt and resentment and disappointment. And you've told yourself, it's fine, it's not that bad, this is just what marriage is like. And then menopause comes along like this spiritual truth serum. The filters drop, your tolerance for pretending evaporates, and the parts of you who you've been silent for decades finally finds their voice. And sometimes that voice is angry. So when we ask, can menopause break a marriage? I'd say sometimes menopause exposes the parts of the marriage that were never truly aligned. And it asks, are we going to repair this honestly? Or are we just going to keep sweeping it under the rug? And that can feel terrifying. But it can also be the beginning of real intimacy, whether you stay together or not. Gently ask yourself, if I'm honest, what has midlife shown me about my relationship that I didn't want to see before? And just notice what comes up. You don't have to act on it today. Just awareness is the first step. So let me share my midlife marriage wobble. I'm definitely not immune to this. In my midlife, I felt this raw rage rise within, and I reached a point where I felt, done. I was unsure about my work and my purpose as I looked at this second half of my life. I was watching my boys become more independent, beautiful but heartbreaking at the same time. I was navigating these physical and these emotional shifts of premenopause. And my husband was traveling a lot for work and really busy and consumed in that. And we were taking care of a family member. And we'd slipped into this pattern of logistics, co-parenting, shared responsibilities, but not a lot of real connection. We were functioning, but I felt lonely, even though I was surrounded by family. I missed being held emotionally. I missed being seen as more than just the reliable, competent one. My libido was definitely low, and I resented that he kept living this pretty similar way and really busy and consumed with work, while everything in me felt like it was changing. There were days I looked at him and thought, are we just flatmates now? And then the guilt. He's my best friend. He's the best husband and father. What's wrong with me? Am I ungrateful? Is this just the hormones? Should I just get some more hormones or increase the level or whatever it was, toughen up, get on with it? Or like some, I was noticing starting to drink to escape the pain or fall into other addictions or temptations. But what helped was giving myself permission to pause and to step back. I took time out, including going on a beautiful menopause retreat. And actually, I'll put that in the link below. I've done another episode on the benefits of a menopause retreat if you want to look at the retreat that I went on and how it healed and helped me. So there I was able to reconnect with myself as me, not just wife, mother, coach. And from that place, I started to see more clearly what I actually needed and what I desired in my life and my partnership. Slowly, I invited my husband into that conversation, and not from a place of you're failing, but from this is how I'm really feeling, and I don't want to do the rest of our lives on autopilot. So we talked. We talked about his amount of travel and him having discussions with his work and how he can make some changes around that. We talked about the division of our labor at home and the mental load of the responsibility with it all, and how we spend our time together and what intimacy looks like now for us in this stage in these bodies. So we made some changes. We brought back some small rituals, like we went on and started doing weekly walks, which were great. They were opportunity for us to chat interrupted, where we often share what's going on in our lives. We can help coach and mentor each other and laugh about the moments during the week. They just became medicine. We started having date lunches once a week, which brought the romance back, the fun. We sort of combined it with our cheat meal for the week, and had a glass of wine and have a laugh and hold hands, and it was just beautiful. We were reminded why we fell in love and how great our connection is. And we started creating a new bucket list where things that felt exciting for this next chapter and our desired future vision. And I started to see that we were back on the same page. We even took ourselves on a second honeymoon, which I highly recommend if you have the time to do that. And we went to the Maldives, which is somewhere we have been always wanting to go. So we recreated this honeymoon energy and kickstarted off choosing each other again for who we are now. We had honest conversations, we made small adjustments, and along with some tears and laughter, but now I really feel that we've repaired this midlife crisis and we feel back on path again. Let's go into this deeper invitation for midlife relationships to move from independence to interdependence. What do I mean by this? So something that I discovered working with clients for many years is this balance between feminism independence and a healthy marriage. So what is this? You see, feminism liberated us to be independent, and that's powerful and absolutely necessary. I would even call myself a feminist. Why? Because I believe it's important that we have a voice and a choice. But independence alone can calcify into loneliness if it becomes a solo slog, where you do everything, you burn out, and then you wonder why the marriage feels flat. Interdependence, by contrast, is mutual support that retains autonomy while inviting cooperation, shared vision, and respect for each other's gifts. Think of interdependence as creating this shared currency in the relationship. Not necessarily money in the bank account, but the mixture of practical contribution, the emotional labor, delight, and care that each person brings. When both partners recognize and value that currency, there's a real intimacy and trust that can deepen and be experienced. So just thinking I'm the breadwinner, so I have the power is not it. Instead, you say things like, we value the currency balance that we both bring to this marriage. And this I found was the cornerstone of our marriage and one I believe has made a difference in those that I've coached. You can think of currency in a relationship as everything you bring to the table, not just money. So, for example, for me, my currency isn't just financial. My husband brings home more money to the table than I do. I would see myself as the quiet CEO and glue of our family. I hold the emotional resilience and the spiritual intelligence that keeps us grounded, the loving support that listens, guides, and cheers everyone on. I bring the organization that keeps life moving. Of course I do, I'm a Virgo rising. The psychological curiosity that asks deeper questions, and the accidental rebel in me that keeps inviting us all to grow, tell the truth, and still enjoy our lives. My gift is creating a home where each of us feels encouraged to become the best version of ourselves, while remaining or remembering that we're part of something bigger than just ourselves on our own. Gently ask yourself, what is the currency I bring to my marriage or my family unit? It may be money in the bank, but more often it's something deeper, emotional, physical, a spiritual currency that supports or underpins your relationship success. Have you discussed this in your marriage? Maybe taken a moment to write some thoughts down. I love how myths can hold up a mirror to our lives if we're willing to look. The ancient myth of Lilith, queen of the matriarchy, is such a powerful one. She's often portrayed as Adam's first wife or as queen in an ancient matriarchy in Sumer 6,000 years ago. I particularly like the retelling of Lilith's story in the book called I Am Lilith by Melanie Duffy. Highly recommend the book if you can get an access to it. And she writes with this ring of truth disguised as fiction. So imagine patriarchy flipped inside out, a world where women's fertility, sexuality, and leadership are honored, where life moves with the cycles of the earth and body, and where women are creatrix, powerful, passionate, sovereign. The men in that world are marginalized. It's not a utopia, but it is a radically different organizing story about power and value. And in the myth, Adam plots to unseat Lilith after she refuses to be subservient. He seduces a younger Eve into submission, promising to take care of her and give her safety, and together they overturn the old order. Lilith and her court are violently ousted and pushed to the edges of the world, and patriarchy is birthed. All evidence of matriarchy are vandalized and destroyed, and women are said to be safer when they're smaller. But Lilith's exile is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a long journey. Cast out, she vows to recover what was lost, the missing female divine, the voice, and the authority that were erased. Her story becomes a 6,000-year quest to call women back to power and to expose the harm of any system, whether it's matriarchal or patriarchal, that system that crushes the other. There's this stark, deeper lesson. Domination in any form breeds inequality, alienation, and loss of real intimacy. Lilith realizes that true balance cannot be built by silencing one side. It must be born from wholeness, from mutual respect, and the reclamation of one's voice. So for us in midlife, Lilith is that part of you who says, no more pretending, no more shrinking, no more abandoning myself to keep everyone else comfortable. That energy can feel wild, angry, inconvenient even, but it's wise. The key is, it's not asking you to dominate your partner now or to flip the power and imbalance the other. It's inviting you into wholeness. In relationship, that looks like moving on from your overgiving and under-receiving, from you appeasing and pacifying, from you silencing what's really true for you, into a space where you and your partner can meet as two whole people. Not one dependent and one savior, not one good girl and one authority figure, but two whole humans, each with a voice, a body, and a soul. That's interdependence. That's where sacred adult partnership lives. And isn't that what we want moving forward? Take a slow breath and ask, where in my relationship have I gone quiet, small, or compliant in ways that no longer feel true to me? Again, no quick fix needed, just noticing. So what can you actually do? I know this is a lot. Let's talk about some gentle places to start. First, give yourself permission to pause. You don't have to decide today whether to stay or go, and you don't have to fix your sex life in a weekend, and you don't have to be fair and minimize your own experience. You can simply acknowledge that something in me is changing and I'm seeing my relationship differently, and that's allowed. From there, a few possibilities. You might start with an honest self-reflection. Like, what do I need emotionally that I'm not currently receiving from myself and from this relationship? Where have I normalized things that actually hurt me? And what am I deeply grateful here? Where is there still love and care and possibility that I want to acknowledge and be grateful for? You might choose a gentle, honest conversation with your partner, not in the heat of a conflict, but at a calmer time. Something like, I want to share something with you, not to blame, but because I care about us. Lately, I've been feeling more like a flatmate and a project manager than a partner. Menopause is changing how I feel in my body and in our relationship, and I don't want to ignore it. I'd love us to look at this together. So you might look at the mental, emotional load and start to rebalance, to write down everything that you hold in your head and let him see it. Explore together what can shift. You might decide to Rebuild friendship, like tiny rituals, like a weekly walk or sitting with a cuppa at the end of the day with your phones away. Trying something fun or a new class together, not to plaster over problems, but to remember that there is more to you than the logistics in your relationship. You might decide to seek support. There's couples therapy or counselling, or speak to a menopause informed doctor about hormones or other health related support, or a coach or a mentor like me that will help you sort through your feelings and your desires. You see, none of this is failure. It's an act of courage, actually, and sometimes through this process you realize, yeah, there's enough here to rebuild from if we're both willing. And sometimes you realize, I can honor this relationship and also know the truest, kindest path now is to walk a different path. And both can be sacred choices. As we come to a close, I want to offer you a few questions that you can carry into your journal, your walk, your bath, all those quiet moments this week. Firstly, if I'm really honest, how would I describe my relationship right now? Not the Instagram version, but the 3 a.m. version. Secondly, what hurts? What feels missing? And also, what still feels alive and worth nurturing? Third, if my midlife marriage crisis were actually my soul asking for more truth, what might it be asking for? And lastly, what is one small compassionate step that I can take towards myself or towards my partner that honors what I know now? You don't need to blow up your life to honor your truth, but you do need to stop silencing it. If this episode has stirred your heart or brought clarity to something that you've been feeling but couldn't quite name, please know you don't have to untangle it all on your own. To support you, I've created a free soul alignment meditation that you can use to calm your nervous system, come back into your body, and hear what your deeper wisdom is trying to tell you, beneath the noise, beneath the fear and the shoulds and shouldn'ts. And if you feel like you're standing at a crossroads in your relationship or in your life, and you'd like someone to walk alongside you for a while, you're also welcome to book a soul mastery coaching session with me. And together we can explore what's really happening in your inner world and your relationship, what your soul is asking for in this season of your midlife, and how you might move forward with more clarity and courage and compassion, whether that means reshaping your marriage, reshaping yourself within it, or gently creating a new path. I'll pop all the details and links for the soul alignment meditation and the soul mastery sessions in the show notes below. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being willing to look honestly at love, marriage, menopause, and your own truth. This is the Accidental Rebel, Soul Truths for Women in Midlife, and until next time, be gentle with yourself. Remember that your truth is not here to destroy your life. It's here to set you free.